welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master David, and with me as always is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
Well, folks, we are finally back. Unfortunately, we've been a little bit out of the normal rotation, so to speak. Unfortunately, some family things came up, and we haven't been able to be necessarily as regular as we have been in the really prior years. We very rarely missed any weeks, but
Yeah.
obviously make sure to tune into social media. Sometimes I'll post stuff on there if we're not going to have an episode for the week. But there has been a lot, and we certainly have a pretty big backlog of stuff to do.
Yeah, tons of comics, literal tons of comics.
Right. And this week we're going to go over Visions.
Our favorite.
Yeah, I mean, you have watched some anime in the past. I was never really big in it. I think the only anime that I really watched any of was, there were two. Gundam Wing, which I didn't really like all that much. I just like the machines. And then, I always forget, Ronin Warriors. Ronin Warriors was another one that I liked.
Yeah.
Which, if I remember correctly, I don't really think that was like a crazy long running. No, it only had 39 episodes in total. It ran for like a year.
If 1 year's 39 episodes, definitely considered anime, not Western.
Well, that's when TV was different. Now, granted, it ran. I think it was pretty sure it was like in the late '80s, early '90s, and then it kind of did like a resurface in the mid '90s, which would have been when I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, as far as anime and knowledge of anime, I'm pretty out on that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I'm really up to date with a lot of the new animes either, so maybe the style of this is more acceptable than it would have been when I was a big fan of anime, like late 90s, early 2000s, but it was different, for sure.
Yeah, and the thing is, and we were kind of going to gloss over it, but there was a pretty widespread and positive just general social media presence for a lot of people were really enjoying or at least talking about what was going on with this. So, we both said you were over. I think that was a night you came over for a crew game, and we sat down and we're like, "Yeah, we'll watch an episode." We wound up watching all of them because they're relatively short.
Not because they were really good and we just couldn't stop.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some good there. There's also, and this is, going to be largely personal preference, but there's also some stuff that I don't like. I know you didn't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we were pretty much, for the most part, pretty concise about what we did and didn't like. I mean, we pretty much, agreed on almost everything.
Yeah, I think for the most part that's true. But a total of 9 episodes.
Different writer every episode, which is an interesting route to take.
Well, I mean they're not continuity. I mean there's no continuity. They're all different stories. But yeah, I mean to his point, several different studios doing different stuff. I think there were 2 episodes that were done by the same studio, Science Saru, which they did episode 5 and 9. Or excuse me, 6 and 9. But yeah, so we had 8 different studios putting their proverbial spin on Star Wars, and like I said, good and bad. Yeah, and it was a bulk drop too.
Yeah,
normally a lot of stuff is not bulk dropped like this.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of expecting a Bad Batch style where we got it weekly. I was pretty surprised by that.
Well, maybe it's just, shorter episodes, one-time event type of thing. So we also got, what was it? the sounds thing that you sent me. What was that called again? Galaxy of Sounds or something like that.
Yeah, Galaxy of Sounds.
And then you just told me today they also uploaded like a Halloween Lego Star Wars
Lego
thing.
Star Wars. Looks like it's Finn and BB-8 little adventure.
Okay.
Like 45 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, Terrifying Tales. So around this time, we also get Tales from Vader's Castle as well, which some of those are kind of fun. Little mini comic run for October as we start to get into the fall and then obviously into the Halloween time. But Visions, good stuff. So
It's a thing.
Yeah. So how was your week then? Even though we pretty much have been around each other for the most part.
I would say you
for
know
the last
exactly
week.
how my week went. We spent
Yeah,
the
essentially.
entire week together. No, pretty good for the most part. Just as you said, there was family stuff going on, so keeping my mind off things, and it was a good week for that. We got to see a Clippers game and went out and did a few things. It's a good week.
Yeah, for sure. Knocked maybe an hour and a half off my life with hot dogs.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I mean, how much did I really knock off with all that salt from the pretzels? Of course, you ate one too, so I guess it doesn't matter.
True. But well, baseball season's technically regular season's over. So I've been catching obviously the Browns, and it just really hasn't been a ton going on, honestly.
Yeah.
Aside from all the stuff we've kind of had to necessarily do. But is what it is.
'Twas a week.
Well, it was a week. Well, we have quite a bit to talk about here. Let's just go ahead and jump straight into Visions. Our first step, and also another thing I don't think we mentioned earlier, obviously different studios, but all of them definitely had different art styles as well.
Like every spectrum of anime art styles you could really imagine.
Well, except modern. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call any of these very modern.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say that they did art styles like in line with My Hero Academia, like even older stuff like Dragon Ball, where they put a lot of effort into certain areas. It was definitely all, I don't want to say cheap. I think some of them put more effort in than others. But it was, it was lacking in modern style. I agree with that.
Yeah. And again, like, I don't want to sit here and like dog somebody's art, but I also don't want to say cheap, but it just, I think older style.
Yeah, especially episode 1. I mean, you're talking, it was almost like a mix between Afro Samurai and like, I don't know, Cowboy Bebop mixed with that weird sketch style that you would see from like Sin City comics. It was weird.
Well, it even had some of the like almost like screen crackling like you would have gotten from an old movie, like a film reel to reel. And I mean, like, again, I can appreciate that, but at the same token, I guess I just expected one of these studios to do a little bit more modern interpretation. But anyway, that's a thing. Our first episode here was The Duel. Kamikaze, was it Duga, was the production company. And I think without drumming up too much, I think this one gave me a little bit more of a confidence, like, oh, this might be okay.
Yeah.
Because the story here wasn't particularly bad. And I did pull up some of the cast. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm watching the Japanese version. We watch the obvious American dub.
Right.
But I did want to point out a couple of names here. So Lucy Liu was actually a voice actress in this. She did the bandit leader.
Really?
Yeah. And let me see here. Was this the other one that I had looked up? There were a couple. So I'm not quite sure if I'm going to say this right, but Keone Young, he was in an episode of The Mandalorian. He was the pilot that we had in there, the rebel pilot.
Oh,
and
okay.
I mean, obviously other stuff, but he had roles in a couple of these. He was also he also did a voice in which episode was that? The 9th episode as well, last episode. So he's in here a little bit.
Did
here
he
and there.
play our protagonist in this, or
No,
no,
he was
okay.
just an additional. Let me see to be precise here. He just voiced a trooper.
Okay.
So, yeah, Brian T was the labeled as Ronin, and then Lucy Liu, Jaden Waldman. I don't know. It looks like he's not nobody, but he was the kid in there. Yeah, I don't recognize any of the other names, but anyway, yeah there
So
you
we
go.
kind of obviously we already touched on the art style of this one. We referenced it, but what did you think of it overall?
Well, so, I mean, first and foremost, I mean, as far as story-wise, you have a village kind of oppressed by what looks like more like an Imperial remnant than
Yeah, we
the
have quite a
actual-
few, like half of a stormtrooper helmet covering their mouth or whatnot.
Yeah.
Very steampunk-ish. Kind of
Yeah.
cool in a way.
Sure. And, they're effectively fleecing this town, it would appear. And then we have this traveler who comes through town and isn't really seemingly there to help. We do have some battle scenes here with some of the locals who are attempting to defend the village, including a Trandoshan, a droid that's kind of in line of Forlom, a Doug, which I didn't initially catch, but there was a Doug in there as well. So they do incorporate some of the alien, non-human elements here as well. But then we do get the leader of these bandits who conceivably is a Sith. At least she has a red lightsaber. So that's kind of an interesting thing here. Whereas, generally in Star Wars lore, Sith are relatively rare at this time. Whereas in this particular, most of these episodes, the Sith are more like your antagonist. So there's like more. It's more of a focal point in the story. It's not quite the same lore necessarily.
Yeah, and for most of these episodes, it's very ambiguous what the timeline is. I mean, doing the old school vibe, feudal Japan almost kind of makes it more difficult to pinpoint the timeline. Obviously, like with this one, you have stormtroopers,
Sure.
their armor, so that's kind of more obvious. But some of them, I mean, they could have really been set in the Old Republic. It's hard to say.
Well, and yeah, I kind of feel like that probably didn't. Yeah, it really wasn't a focal point of like. And here's the thing, and I kind of wanted to soften on this a little bit because I know we talked about it when we were watching these. I don't think the timeline matters at all.
It really doesn't.
In this case, but the issue is that we talk so much about timelines in what we do and what a lot of fans do is we talk about timelines. But the thing is like the timelines, the where they're at, it literally means nothing.
Yeah.
So
the
which is
only
fine.
reason it really would is if, like, of course, kind of a driving factor for our reviews for that matter too is just, I try to imagine if they continued any specific storyline from any of these episodes. Obviously, the timeline would matter more, but for one quick 20-minute episode, it really it doesn't make a difference to me one way or the other.
Well, and again, that I think that's another thing to talk about is that this isn't canon. This
Right.
isn't anything aside from allowing some of these production companies to put their spin on, well, really to put Star Wars in their spin, so to speak. It's like
Yeah.
Do your thing, tell your story, but hey, lightsabers.
Right.
So
Preferably
I think
an umbrella one.
yeah, which there was a couple of umbrella things. I really don't understand that very much. I'm obviously no great scholar in ancient ancient Japanese culture or anything like that. But the umbrella is a theme in a lot of anime. I mean, there's a lot, and even in here, we at least see an umbrella in some way, shape, or form twice.
Yeah, I mean, we see it in the bunny episode as well. So
yeah, but let's not get too far ahead. So yeah, our Sith here does have this sort of multi-bladed saber, which she does stab the Trandoshan with, but as soon as that opens, he should have went flying.
Yeah.
In all directions, but
right.
Not that gory. And then the bulk of this episode is really the confrontation between our, Ronin and this bandit leader.
Which, by the way, the combat style in this I actually really appreciated. One thing that I did really like right at the beginning when she attacks him was, in a lot of cheesy, not necessarily animes, but like Jet Li and all those old movies we watch, you'd have someone catch a blade with their hands, stop it midair. We actually had that with our Ronin. He catches it with the force, but in that, that way that makes it look like he caught it with his hands, which I kind of appreciated, the blending of different, cultures in that way. I appreciated a lot of the art style on this episode. The only thing that I have a problem with is like the way they do the lightsabers with like a sheath. And that was something from every episode. I can't just fault this episode for it.
No, yeah, we talked about that prior to even this coming out, because the whole thing is this Ronin was part of the promotional stuff, and that whole lightsaber unsheathing, it doesn't make any sense.
No, because you would destroy the sheath in the process. So clearly it's like just something to hold your lightsaber.
It's more
instead
of
of belt clip.
Yeah, it's an aesthetic. It's an aesthetic choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, one other thing I did want to mention about the art style, I do think that whatever this would be called did a very interesting thing with depth.
Yeah.
It made, a lot of these sort of like 2D things look interestingly 3D. And there's obviously a lot of different shading in here. But the depth perception of the animation I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. But again, we do have this, and it also kind of reminds me of that Take On Me music video from like the 80s, a little bit. Because all the shading is constantly shifting throughout. I mean, if you watch too close. The other thing I brought up was the how they did the animated Lord of the Rings movie. And that was like it was like some weird motion capture where it did have like elements of real people. It's like they animated real people moving, or they had video of people moving, but they animated over it.
Yeah.
It was I don't remember what that's called, and I'm not going to look it up either because I don't really feel like being the detail guy today. But then we get this sort of revelation that our Ronin also has a red-bladed lightsaber, and they really make a big emphasis on red blades being the evil and everything. So we potentially are looking at this evil versus evil. Right. Now, I don't necessarily think that that's the takeaway that I would have for this, but I guess just kind of getting through our duel here. They do change different positions. And I said eventually when they moved onto the water on the log, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Mustafar, Obi-Wan and Anakin's duel, except that was in lava and this was in water.
Yeah.
And then we also kind of get the Art of War switcheroo as our Sith and our Ronin go over this waterfall, where he employs a bit of misdirection. And he leaves his saber on a statue, and it confuses our Sith, thinking that, that's a guy, I've just struck him down. And then we find out that that's not true, and he is able to then take out are Sith. So I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of, nice little Art of War reference, the sort of misdirection and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Very precise kill, though. I almost had this sort of like thought of, is she going to come back or something? Oh, no, dead.
Yeah. Kind of a theme for every Sith kill in this series.
Yeah, it was very final.
Yeah.
Now, the only other thing that I'd point out from here is that after he defeated the Sith, he took the Kyber crystal, and you see in his robes, he is carrying several Kyber crystals.
Yeah.
So what my wonder is would this guy even be technically a Jedi? Well, a Force user, or was this like more of a mercenary who is like a Sith hunter sort of thing, and he's just using a red blade because that's what he has? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I like the mercenary route. I kind of thought myself that maybe he never really had much interaction with Sith or Jedi up until a certain point, and maybe he found another Force user to teach him the ways, and maybe a Sith killed them, and then he just decided from then on, well, I'm just going to kill all Sith, which would lead towards him not knowing the significance of the red blade,
Yeah, possibly. So, I mean, there's a little bit to unpack there, but I mean, I thought this was probably one of the better episodes.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say top 3, actually.
Right. So that's kind of the gist of that. We're going to kind of try and blow through these here a little bit, but
I'm sure you're really going to blow through the next one.
Yeah, for sure. But let's go ahead and give this a rating. We'll do our out of 10. What would you give it out of 10?
I guess I really have nothing to compare it to. I'm trying to be kind of unbiased with everything else in the Star Wars universe. So for an attempt at an anime Star Wars experience, I would actually give this a 7.5 out of 10. I thought it was pretty good.
Okay. I was gonna go more in the range of like an 8.2. I think it was again, I thought it was pretty strong. I could even be persuaded to go a little higher, but that was the first number that popped into my head. So
yeah,
not a bad episode at all. It got a little bit downhill though.
Yeah.
Now our second episode, called Tatooine Rap City. Let's see here. Cast. Was there anybody? Oh yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was our sort of like Padawan-ish guy. Jay. Bobby Moynihan voiced Geezer. Mark Thompson was the voice of Lan, and other voices who obviously we know a lot about from books. And Tamira Morrison came in and voiced Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
What is this?
Good cast.
Yeah, so, right. And we also had Shelby Young, who's done some voices for Forces of Destiny. She's done some stuff with Galaxy's Edge, provided some voices for the Mandalorian, and was Captain Bragg in the Bad Batch. So she's bounced around in the universe, so I wanted to make a little bit of a note of that. Yeah. Tatooine Rap City. I don't understand how this was an episode. I mean, I'm going to be extremely harsh. The animation was fine, although the
I don't like big head, little body, or vice versa.
Well, yeah,
anime
some of the
personally.
right, yeah, some of the perspective it changed a lot because this Jay might have a saber, but then all of a sudden it looks like a little dagger, but then it's like a full-fledged sword. So some of the perspective was odd, but I don't think that the overall
even like Boba Fett, he's like the size of this Padawan essentially,
kind of like a bobblehead.
Yeah,
but yeah, but I don't think overall it looked pretty clean, decent color. So I can't necessarily fault it for the animation as much. The story, however, is garbage.
It is. If you could even call it a story, honestly.
Yeah, and again, I'm sure there are people that like it. I just instantly dislike this, but
yeah.
So and also they didn't really explain much, but essentially what I'm guessing is we have a Padawan who was fleeing the Empire, so we were kind of assuming Order 66 maybe. Mm-hmm. falls into a transport that contains a Hutt who doesn't want to join the Hutt family business and wants to be a bass player for a band.
Who doesn't really even look that much like a Hutt, by the way.
Yeah, kind of. And then Boba Fett is sent to capture this Hutt and does. And, I mean, without having to talk about this too much, eventually they play a full-fledged song to, I don't know, keep their band together. It just wasn't. It wasn't good.
It was just very awkward. Just from the beginning to the end, it was awkward.
Yeah, and I mean, I pointed this out when we were watching it. At least I think I did. I think I remember saying this. You know, the music is like, I don't think this is what young kids are listening to. Like, if you're trying to get young kids to watch this and then listening to I mean, it was like,
I won't necessarily even say the music.
This is like early 2000s pop punk.
Yeah, I won't even say that it was like a terrible score for anime, but I'll say that it was like openings for animes, like you said, late 90s, mid 2000s. Just, it was very outdated.
Well, and the fact that they literally had darn near half the episode for this song, it just wasn't, in my opinion, I didn't get it. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
And
I don't think I'm trying not to offend anyone, but I can't imagine many Star Wars fans being excited of a Jedi Padawan being turned into a musician who really doesn't use their lightsaber anymore.
Right.
I don't know.
Now, the only thing it did give us was the bobbing head Boba Fett gif. I've seen that a few times out there.
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about this episode anymore because I thought it was pretty terrible. I'm going to give it a 1. It was not
I would agree.
good.
Yeah,
No, you know what? I'll give it a 2 just because I didn't hate the animation style. It was fine.
Nope, I'm giving it the 1. I'm sticking with 1.
Yeah, it just wasn't good. And I don't really understand how this, I mean, cuz you get some over the top stuff in anime that works. This just didn't work for me. So,
yeah, would agree.
Didn't work. All right, let's move on to episode 3, The Twins, which is one I've heard a lot of people talk about here. Let me get our voices. Do we have anybody? Oh, yeah. So Neil Patrick Harris voiced, what was his name? Was it like Carr? Was that the guy's name? I don't remember that being the name. And then Allison Brie did Am.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was kind of cool. So some actual like bigger name actors in there. The Twins.
You know, it kind of made me think of the whole the Last Jedi hyperspace jump through a Star Destroyer thing.
Well,
it just destroys. Thank God it's not canon. That's all I want to say. I mean,
well, there was you would have to suspend a lot of disbelief for this episode to make any sense.
Yeah.
In that sort of realm.
Well, at that point, what is there left? Honestly, because that's,
I suppose most
of it was just the epic fights, and it was stylized. I can appreciate that to an extent, but not when you're thinking of established lore.
Well, there is a story. I mean, there is a story here. You have twins that were effectively kind of created for the task of effectively
channeling dark side energy.
It's a weapon.
Yeah.
It's a dual-shipped weapon cannon that these two twins are on one side of each ship.
Yeah.
They also have power suits, so their suits are there to channel energy as well. And these suits were effectively off of some concept art for Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So these are based upon early concept art, which I'm glad they didn't use because they look kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
To me.
Does it seem like to you that like the writers of this episode wanted to be able to do an alternate universe Luke and Leia so very badly, where they were arc side users.
I mean, I could see this kind of story being in like Legends somewhere. Like somebody wrote this as like a fanfic. But yeah, so you have this big weapon in these, I don't know, special big kyber crystals and power suits, and our male twin doesn't want to do it. Yeah. So he steals the power source and then kind of attempts to escape. And we have effectively a duel between the twins. And there's a droid.
And there's an X-Wing for no reason.
Yeah, which was kind of odd because in the brothers' ship, they had an X-Wing there, which would not have been an Imperial craft. I mean, I guess they could have had it. Why not, I suppose, but it didn't make a ton of sense.
Well, there's not much it really did, though, in this episode. It just gets worse from there.
Yeah, sure. And I guess the other thing that we're kind of alluding a bit more to is the fact that both this whole battle happens in space.
Mm-hmm. The cold vacuum of space with no powered suits.
Yeah. Well, the sister had her power suit. The brother didn't.
For a little while, sure. Yeah.
And we do get some force powers here where we have the sister stopping the brother's ship from leaving and actually pulls him and the crystal he stole out of the ship. So that's a thing. But now the brother is in the vacuum of space without a helmet, without a suit, and they're fighting over a kyber crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, just to throw it out there, the dialogue is not very good in this episode either. Very repetitive, in my opinion, especially the sister.
Yeah, true. We also have different colored force lightning.
Yeah.
Which I thought was
red
interesting.
Force lightning.
Yeah, very much tapping into this whole, red versus blue, good and evil colors. But yeah, eventually the sister does have her helmet knocked off, and we reveal a couple of blonde twins.
Yeah, in the vacuum of space.
Yeah.
Which another thing that kind of bothered me, very, very nitpicky, I know, but it's never been my favorite animation style when they draw it in such a way that your hair becomes transparent through your eyes, where it's almost behind your eyes in a way.
Yeah.
It's just very annoying to me. I don't know why. With such a stylized anime, it just stood out like a sore thumb to me that they didn't take the time to really, draw that out properly.
Right. Well, another kind of point in this particular storyline is that the brother actually has a vision of his sister dying based upon this whole power crystal stuff. And he knew that she wouldn't listen to him, so he just took it. But she laughs in her maniacal laugh and is like, I don't care, I just want the power. And then she puts the crystal in her suit and gets all powerful.
Grievousy.
Yeah. The brother has the tinier crystal. He lost the Thanksgiving Day wishbone game. She also does use a whip.
Yeah.
Lightsaber whippy kind of tentacle.
Yeah.
Tentacle stuff. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, it's really easy to just put a crystal in a lightsaber. That actually was kind of neat. I guess when the brother sort of put the tiny crystal in his saber, it's like had sound effects and everything. That wasn't too bad, I guess.
Yeah. Well, technically we did get a dual phase lightsaber out of it, so it was worth it, right?
Oh, yeah, that is true. The other interesting thing is the brother was able to break the sister's beam. Because the again, Whippy were whipped around his saber, and then he broke the beam.
Yeah.
It didn't break the beam completely. It broke off pieces of the beam.
Which extends, by the way. So I guess it
Well,
really doesn't matter. I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, I mean, again,
Again, vacuum of space.
well, yeah,
Everything.
yeah, vacuum of space, but just kind of pushing believability a little bit too far, even with lightsabers.
By the
Yeah,
way, they show turbines in the X-Wing, and I really didn't like that, the way they did it. I don't know. Did you notice that? Like all the drives had turbines, like it was a jet plane.
No, I guess I didn't really notice that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I mean, they had back burners. I mean, is that what you're talking about? Or you're talking about something else? Or are you talking about the front of them? Like from the front face where it kind of...
Yeah. Like it's at like 13 and a half minutes if you're watching it. It's when he starts riding the X-Wing. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, is that the X-Wing does have like an open kind of port. I mean, it's not the same, but it's... I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I can understand what you're saying. I don't necessarily... It is different. It is definitely different, though. Well, at any rate, then our male twin here activates a giant dual-phase lightsaber and cuts through the ships.
While
and
standing
also,
on an X-Wing, by the way.
While going into hyperspace and just barely grazing the sister's chest.
Yeah.
To break the crystal. And blasting
and then surviving
off her power
hyperspace,
suit.
Which is also still the vacuum of space.
Yeah, you know, to be honest with you, maybe it's just I haven't watched enough anime or whatever. I found the sort of believability factor to be a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's definitely an anime thing to do, but the problem is you're doing it in an established universe with limitation. And granted, it's not canon, so it doesn't matter in the long run. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. Let's give it a rating. What do you got?
4.
Okay. I mean, I thought that the story is interesting. The execution of the story lacked a lot for me. I think it is interesting to have these Force twins that were effectively created to power a super weapon.
A lot of potential there.
Yeah, but I mean, the fighting in the vacuum of space, the weird saber stuff just didn't really do it for me. I'm probably looking at maybe like a 6-ish. Okay. I'll just say 6. It's okay. It's not bad. All right, let's move on. I'm trying to bust through these. I don't want another 2-hour episode.
Yeah. Village Bride, episode 4.
Yeah, Village Bride. Let's see what I had on this one. Nobody that I really recognize as far as voices.
Which is odd because we even mentioned that the old mentor guy sounded very familiar in this.
Yeah. So this was another one that a lot of folks seem to enjoy.
Which, to an extent, actually, this was one of my favorites too.
Yeah, it was interesting, and it had. I was just saying, it did sort of have a story within a story as well. So it had sort of a couple of layers to it. Mm-hmm. We had this couple who were going up a mountain, effectively getting married, I guess. Touch a stone, get married, maybe. And then there was some subtext of bandits and this bride is kind of supposed to be more like a hostage, I guess.
Yeah.
Or
almost
something.
Like a sacrifice in a way to keep them from attacking the village.
Yeah, kind of. And then we also have the subtext with the older mentor and then this younger Jedi who, I mean, I guess I would say something bad happened to and doesn't necessarily have
Would imagine an Order 66 survivor.
I mean, maybe
Potentially.
I don't know about that. I don't think I feel like this is more like either High Republic-y or something before that. Because the only thing is like they're not on the run; they're doing missions. So, I mean, that to me wouldn't be Order 66. Just to me, I don't know, but I could be wrong. Not sure. I don't know.
As far as just dissecting it, I mean, the art style was pretty decent in it.
Not bad.
The combat was actually really good, I thought, for the most part. Dialogue was cringy at times. We had our favorite meme of the entire season come out of this episode. I'm drawing a blank now, but essentially how if you don't...
Was that this one?
Yeah, that was this one. It's like if you don't join in a party, bad things will happen to you or something. Or if your party isn't big enough, misfortune will fall on you or something weird. Just really out of place.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and find that because that was a really odd. That was an odd saying. Yeah, I mean, I really do feel like this is probably more like High Republic, because again, kind of like going out on the frontier, doing random tasks and all that stuff. Exploring the Force a little bit more, exploring your own weaknesses and so forth like that.
Yeah. Also, the planet itself was kind of interesting because clearly it's the people are very in tune with the planet. It's very strong with the Force. I mean, for a Jedi, this would be an ideal world to go kind of just practice or meditate and grow.
By the way, I do need to stop real quick because we were given a clue as to the timeline and I forgot about it until I just saw it here. This is like probably, oddly post-Clone War-y because they were droids, battle droids.
Oh, that's true. That's very true.
So
forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So something maybe Clone Wars. This is kind of one of the weird things, though. It didn't really feel like that. It felt more like High Republic as we kind of know it here. But there again, whatever. Yeah, I can't find that stupid saying. It doesn't matter. But yeah, it was a really weird kind of like, I don't know. Some proverb, and I'm wondering if it was just more like a translation thing.
I have it here. I just don't want to play it in the recording. So let me see if I can get subtitles on real quick.
Yeah, you're all good. But anyway, while he's doing that, we did have some of the other villagers here. One of them was this gal's sister who kind of want to fight the bandits, and they wind up walking away. I don't know, something about like red sashes. I'm not quite sure what the significance for that is, but it looks like the village is kind of ready to fight, but we didn't really get that. The hostage situation still was going on. However, our bandits were kind of going to change the arrangement, but our Jedi here actually kind of does the Kylo and stops a blaster bolt from taking out this bride's sister, and then redirecting the bolt back at the offending bandit and destroying his weapon.
Yeah, which was pretty
cool. So that was kind of cool. I thought that, that makes sense. If you could stop it, maybe you could also redirect it if you're strong enough. And then we have her kind of just, running roughshod over all of the droids. And, by the way, had a Corellian freighter here as well.
Yeah.
A Corellian-style freighter. Which once destroyed, disables the droids. Yellow-bladed lightsaber. I know some people will like that.
Yeah. Isn't it a samurai-style lightsaber as well
much.
In this one? Yeah.
Very much. And she fights very much in kind of that sort of samurai stance, very deliberate cutting motions and everything, not the twirling around. And I guess she also has magic shoes, magic heels.
Yeah, I mean, the design of her as a Jedi was pretty cool. I like the mask. I know it was kind of cheesy probably for most people, but I appreciated her whole aesthetic.
Well, I don't know if it'd be cheesy, but yeah, it's an aesthetic.
By the way, I found our saying. Are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Celebrations are meant to be shared with a large group, because if you hold back, you'll be cursed.
There you go. Yeah, I'm sure that's one of
that
those
takes a
things
little
that
bit of context, but yeah.
I'm sure it loses something in the translation, but yeah, it was just he said it so matter-of-factly. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go ahead and give this one a rating. Well, I guess I'll do this one. I've been making you do all of it first. I actually didn't think this one was too bad. I do like our character here, who is just denoted with the letter F.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't necessarily be remiss if I got a little bit more of her. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably say, I don't know, that's just 7.5. It's a good size. It's a solid episode.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was a cool episode. I like the art style. I like the mentor in this, although he clearly wasn't a Jedi, seeing as how he was just sniping people from a distance when he was fighting.
Yeah.
I wish I could have gotten more out of our Jedi, but there was an air of mystery to her that I appreciated. I like the design of her lightsaber, and also the couple kind of had a cool dynamic as well. And the planet was pretty interesting. I'd like to know more about it.
Yeah.
Overall, it's probably one of the more compelling episodes, I'd say. So I'll give this one an 8, actually.
Cool. There we go. All right. Our next episode, moving along, the Ninth Jedi.
Yes. Maybe I'm not good at counting, but I never counted the Ninth Jedi in this.
Yeah, I might have missed that as well. I don't recognize any of the names for the English dub for this either, so maybe some of you know them. I don't know. This episode confused me a lot, and
Yeah.
I think the basis, if you wanted to boil it down, we're in a universe where lightsabers are forged, not created by the Jedi who hold them. And I think it plays a lot on Japanese culture with the sword being probably bigger than the person holding it. And in this case, you could be a Jedi, but the Jedi in this universe don't have sabers. So they're forged for them, and that is kind of how they complete their circle. Whereas, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's almost like they put an importance to it, like almost in Lord of the Rings, where, you would name a saber and it had a backstory and it was super important, almost like it gave the user a bit of power.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, Lord of the Rings certainly had some imbuement, but a lot of the sabers or the swords in Lord of the Rings it was great deeds. They did great deeds, or the people who held them did great deeds. But yeah, I mean that's interesting, but it takes out the way Star Wars for me has established the bond between a saber, the Force, and the Jedi who builds it. And I think that's always been the important thing for me. So, and they talked about tempering the crystal.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can talk about forging a lightsaber, but when you actually get into truly forging, like hitting a kyber crystal with a hammer, doesn't make sense to me. Now, they did introduce some things that, if you actually added to the lore from the beginning, would have been kind of cool, like, as you did deeds and became stronger and actually truly became a Jedi, your color was chosen, but beforehand it was a black saber, almost like a dark saber, which was a cool concept, but it's not something that really can integrate into Star Wars well. So, I mean, it was a cool idea, but it just wouldn't work.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think that's how you kind of put your connection into it, is the fact that once you sort of connect and you really know you're a Jedi, at that point your saber turns the color in accordance to who you are.
Of course, if you go from a storytelling perspective, it kind of made our interactions with the the blacksmith's daughter very odd.
Well, yeah, and see that I think that's another thing to get on a little bit too, because it feels more like in this universe, it's like everybody is a Force user.
Yeah, or at least very proficient with a lightsaber, if nothing else.
Yeah, just weaponry in general. It seems like it's very. Yeah, I don't know. I found that to be a little strange. But from a story component, we have a character named Juro who is trying to bring Jedi so that he can give them sabers effectively and restore the Jedi Order. So that was interesting. And we have this group of Force users that arrive at this temple. And we have a droid there. It's like, chill. Juro will be here and we'll get your sabers. It'll be great.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, I think some of the saber designs were pretty cool. I didn't think they were all that bad.
Yeah. Even the black saber, when you don't really have a connection to the Force as a Jedi, was kind of awesome in a way.
True. Now this also brings another kind of Force-ish power, where our blacksmith was able to not only stop a bolt with his hand Vader style, but also then redirect it into his forge. They were attacked. Didn't really die though, even though he exploded his forge.
Yeah, they just all were catapulted from the forge.
Yeah, that was a little strange. But yeah, we see the daughter kind of speeding around and, being extremely proficient with a saber.
Yeah, driving a speeder backwards while deflecting blaster bolts. Mind you, not having a color at this point with the lightsaber that she took.
Yeah.
Clearly did not pass the entire Jedi Academy at that point, no matter what her skills are.
True. Now, once the daughter does bring the sabers up to this station, it is revealed that the majority, aside from one of our characters, which I believe was Ethan, I think that was the guy's name. Pretty sure it's Ethan. They all ignite and they're red, aside from Ethan. And effectively, this was the plan that these Siths were trying to lure out Jedi and destroy them.
Yeah.
So not a bad plot element. But again, it puts a lot more onus on the color of the weapon.
Yeah.
It's like, we have to really make sure that you understand this. Oh, by the way,
which a lot of
Juro was
people
just
like, but
yeah, sure. And also, Juro was just chilling in the droid.
Yeah.
And I totally expected him to be evil. He also had the fulcrum symbol on his cape. So that was an interesting connection.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a lightsaber battle here. Juro does, pretty decently, literally hacking people to pieces. Our daughter is doing decent, and she eventually finds her color as well. It turns green. And Ethan does some Ethan stuff. Whatever.
Yeah. And then
by the way, one of
the Sith.
True. Yeah, they kind of throws him in. I don't know. I guess a giant kyber crystal.
Field, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, one of the Sith wasn't a Sith. He was a deep cover agent, and his lightsaber turns purple.
Yeah. He was like a Russian sleeper agent, essentially.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think the episode definitely had some merit. The story was interesting enough. Kind of some common themes where you have, betrayal and the light trying to overcome the darkness, and then Russian sleeper agents. And I will say, though, probably one of the more violent.
Yeah.
Because when they killed somebody, they killed him.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of cutting people in half in this season.
A lot. They wanted to leave no doubt. Also, just kind of leaves off on a very ambiguous note, though. Kind of like when it kind of happened with a lot of these episodes, where it's like, well, you gonna bring us back for another episode.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give it a rating. What do you got on it?
I'm gonna go with a. This one's kind of difficult. I liked a decent amount of the story. I liked the plot twist with all of them being Sith. Kind of guessed it, but it was still kind of cool. The main character seemed interesting. She, clearly had a lot of skill. It's just kind of how they set it up where she's not a Jedi, so she really shouldn't have skill, but she does. And that whole setup to me made no sense whatsoever. The lightsaber stuff, like tempering a crystal, was terrible. Everything with that just made no sense to me at all. But I think there was potential for the storyline, so I would give it 7, I think, out of 10.
Yeah, I thought the story was interesting. I didn't like the saber forging. It kind of takes away a bit of the connection with the Jedi that's supposed to be doing that themselves. They took some liberties, but it wasn't a bad story. I'll probably say like a 7.5. Again, I think I've been given that. Mm-hmm. It's a decent episode. It's not bad at all. So not too bad there. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next episode. We've got
Mega Man.
Yeah. This is episode 6, TOB1. 2B1.
I'll be honest, maybe I just was zoned out at this point, but I don't remember much of this episode personally.
Well,
I probably should have rewatched it.
I want to move through this pretty quickly. I did not care for this one at all, and it basically is just Mega Man. You have a former Jedi without hands and
his
chair
droid that he created, I guess.
Well, he has this chair with arms on it, and he creates droids, essentially. Yeah. And it seems like he's trying to, I don't know, imbue droids with the Force or something like that.
Which is stupid. But then again, we have seen a surge of droid Force users between the Hunters game and a few other things. So why not? Why not?
Anyway, I know there's questions about sentience, but I mean, they're droids. So anyway, we have little kid droid. Dude, I mean, what's the point? What's the point of this episode? I don't know. I mean, he's like, hey, go out in the desert and like find a kyber crystal or something, and he has little boy dreams of like cutting AT-ATs with a saber and stuff.
Yeah, which are they his dreams or were they imbued by someone else? And it makes no sense. I mean, he's a droid, so essentially all of his dreams would be.
Well, I mean, Mega Man
uploaded from something else.
Mega Man was a boy, and he like died in the animated series. He like died in the first episode, and so the doc was like, making him Mega Man.
Right. Which I know there's a little bit of difference here, but I just feel like total copyright here.
Yeah, it was a little too close. Anyway, so the Empire's after our old guy, and they get him. Mm-hmm. But before they get him, he gives the little robot boy his old saber and hides him. So then little robot boy continues this guy's work, which he seemed like he was like a terraformer, kind of like he, plants and like trying to reseed planets, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So our little droid boy continues to work, rebuilds everything, rebuilds his little droid pals, and realizes that he's got a kyber crystal in his chest all the time. And he makes a lightsaber, which is eerily reminiscent of Cal Kestis's lightsaber.
Yeah.
And in celebration, he does a one-hand handstand push-up.
Yeah.
And laughs about it in the rain. And then has to take on a Sith Knight thing. Is that the gist of it? Like, did we get the gist of the episode? Are we done?
Does it even matter if we did? Sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't like the episode. I just thought it was.
Oh no, I agree. I totally agree.
Cheesy, and it didn't make any sense.
Luckily, we get into some better ones coming up. Well, at least a better one next.
Yeah, I just didn't like it. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of those things. It's just a very low score. I'm just going to bounce it down to a 2. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, it's same here. 2 is what I was thinking as well.
All right, let's move on to the Elder. At least here we can kind of get some of our sanity back. Now, the Elder, David Harbour. He voiced one of our characters here, our older Jedi.
Yes, our very monotone, bored Elder Jedi.
Right. and what I was saying in the episode, so James Hong is the guy's name, and he's done voices in Clone Wars, Rebels, a lot of stuff. He's a pretty well-known actor, but so he was the voice of the Elder. So that was cool. I like that.
Yeah, he was very well done. I really enjoyed it.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, it gave us the greatest name, Dan. Our Padawan. Yeah. What's the Padawan's name? Dan.
Can we give him a new name? No, it's Dan.
Please give him a new name. It's so cheesy. Well, I mean, technically, our master's name is a spice. It's tahine. I mean, I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced here, but it's spelled tahine like the Mexican seasoning spice.
I will just refer to him as not Qui-Gon for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. So this is where we get into a little bit of what I think of stereotypical anime dialogue.
Yeah.
Very fast-paced, over and over and over again.
And then the witty banter, like, oh, I'll leave it to my master to be the best master of all masters, and he's just the best, and he knows everything,
Yeah. But, this is a little bit more typical kind of deal. Master and Padawan out doing missions, and they actually, our master here, Master Mexican Spice. Sorry, I'm sure that's super offensive to somebody. It's spelled tahine, and I can't help it. Feels a disturbance in the Force from a powerful potential, Sith, basically. And they go onto a planet where the interaction with the townspeople was very interesting.
The winking with the children and everything. Yeah, very different.
Yeah, I mean, this one definitely did feel very anime. What did you think of the colors? Because I felt like it was like very drab and gray.
Yeah, it was very boring to me, even down to like their Jedi attire. It was. I feel like they kind of tried to stylize things, like traditional Star Wars to an extent. It's just when you got to the color palette, it just wasn't. I don't know what they were thinking with the color palette. It wasn't well done. I think the actual robes were cool. I think they did a good job. It was very traditional. That was fine. The lightsabers were fine.
I don't want to say it was terrible. It's just it felt like really weirdly muted.
Yeah, very gray. Very gray.
Yeah, very gray. But maybe that's the point. Who knows? Anyway, Dan the Man encounters our elder first. And
he dies.
Well, not really.
So we think.
But yeah, Dan's really no match for this Sith. Does try and fight him. We have a dual wielder here. Our elder is a dual wielder. His sabers look more knife-like.
Which, by the way, I just want to kind of touch on the Elder's personality, and obviously the voice acting I already said was very good. This, to me, whereas everything else seemed like a very generic anime, kind of got into that realm where almost a bit like I kind of want to say like Dragon Ball or whatnot, where the villain is really, set up to be this big major conflict, and you couldn't imagine anything being tougher. And I guess if this was traditional anime, this fight probably would have lasted a solid 7 episodes.
Agreed. Yeah.
It was, the fighting style, almost like a Palpatine stabby lunge attack every time, and I really appreciated how much effort they put into the Sith in this episode. I thought it was probably the best attention to detail through the entire series, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was definitely a lot more interesting. And again, your bad guy had a bit more interesting personality.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dan should be dead. He was definitely like
very dead,
disemboweled.
Yeah.
But apparently not really. And then we kind of get a battle in the rain as our Jedi and our Sith come together. However, our Jedi is better, and he's able to anticipate the movements a bit more.
Which, by the way, already kind of harped on, but he totally had a Qui-Gon stance, which
yes,
I kind of appreciated.
Correct. He did take the Qui-Gon stance, which I would be interested. I would have to assume that that's who they base this off of, right? They had to base it off of Qui-Gon.
Well, I would hope they didn't base Dan off of Obi-Wan, but yes, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, throughout this...
Very cool kill move, too. Probably the best kill move I've seen. I don't want to say in Star Wars, but like one of the best.
Yeah, true. But through the duel, our Jedi is able to disarm our Sith of one of his blades, and then
deflect his lightning.
Well, the funny thing that I thought was interesting about the lightning is our elder was actually sort of using the lightning kind of like we saw in the first episode, almost like as a forced stop.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But Dan was able to cause a bit of a distraction. He throws his saber, which the elder bats away, but as he was kind of momentarily sort of distracted, we do see it was a really cool kill where our Jedi just sort of like puts an unlit saber to his chest and ignites it.
Yeah.
So it's cold-blooded, but it was cool as well. Now, one of the themes that they explore here, and this is something we've kind of nibbled at here and there, where I mean, at this time, again, it's pretty hard to tell the sort of timeline, but I'm thinking like episode 1, that kind of like Republic deal.
Yeah, clearly these aren't Jedi on the run, and it would have been one of the higher eras for the Jedi based on just their attire and the way they carried themselves.
But my point is that old Tahine here, Tajine maybe. Is that maybe what it would have been pronounced here? I guess I don't even really remember if they said it. But anyway, was opining on the fact that the Sith was very powerful. In his prime, I might not have been able to beat him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So kind of exploring maybe the power scaling of Jedi. It's like maybe we wouldn't have been able to do this if he would have been younger. So that's kind of cool to explore.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, one thing to touch on, I don't know, maybe I'm reading into this wrong, but after the Sith's death, the way that he crumbles, like the body just disintegrates, kind of leans into the whole aspect of the Sith where they pursue power so much that they just essentially destroy their own body in the process, and the dark side of the Force is the only thing really keeping them together. So once the dark side departed from him, he just completely crumbles. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. No, I agree. That was pretty neat. Kind of going through this again as the face of Dan looks really familiar for some reason.
Yeah.
I can't think of what
it looks High Republic. It really does.
No, it's
like
not. It's not that. It's like from
so?
It's like from an anime. Like they carbon copied another face.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me later, but anyway, that was kind of the end of that episode.
Yeah.
So, want to give it a rating?
Yeah, sure. I really think that out of every single episode, whoever decided to write this actually had the most knowledge of Star Wars and respect to keep it as close to our canon as possible. Yeah. So I really respect that. But I think he fused it with anime tropes really well. Now, the dialogue was a little rough, especially in the beginning.
Sure.
While they were in space, I mean, it seemed to drag on for quite a while. But our master was really cool in this. The Sith was really well done. There's a little bit of, comical aspects with, like, Dan dealing with the kids and everything, which is pretty typical for anime.
Right.
Ultimately, I think that when I think of a Star Wars anime, this is what I would kind of picture. So I feel like this is, I don't know, it's hard to say it's the best episode, but it's the most traditional that I can think of. So I really do think they did a good job. So I would give it an 8.3.
Yeah, and I mean I'm in agreement with you. Actually, I do think it. Here's the thing. I appreciate incorporating elements of anime into this, but I do think you have to be respectful of the source material as much as you have to be respectful to your own style. Mm-hmm. The whole forging lightsaber thing, no, that takes away from it. It just takes away from a bit of the soul that the Star Wars genre has brought in, that connection. It tried to do other things with it. I just didn't really care for that. But I think this was very, very well done. Mm-hmm. The dialogue, it is what it is. That's kind of what I expected more of, honestly. Yeah. So I'm probably going to bop this up a little higher. It probably was the best. It really goes with the first episode, the duel. I think they're both good. I think this was better.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to say I'll pop it up there at an 8.6. I think that's where I'm at.
Okay.
So pretty good stuff. All right, man. Are you ready for the best episode?
Oh, by far. This is a solid 9.9. The only thing that I didn't like about was how short it was. It needed to be longer.
That it ended. So, episode 8, Lop and Ocho.
Yeah, old Lop. It's an interesting name. Wonder what you would give that to.
Yeah, whatever, dude.
Just a normal child.
It's about
Force
a bunny.
user, I'm sure.
It's a bunny person. I will say, though, some of the animation in this was probably maybe the more modern.
Yeah, I would almost lean towards and I don't know if you would even know what this is, but like a Studio Ghibli anime, kind of like Howl's Moving Castle or stuff like that, where everything in the background is super detailed.
Yeah.
I think they put a lot of effort into the animation in this. Even to the detriment of the story, I'll say a little bit, but I did appreciate it for what it was.
Right. And I don't know. I kind of think that this. Crap. Yeah, and you know what? Again, as I'm putting this on here again, I thought of an anime, and I thought the same thing when we watched it, and I couldn't name it, and I still can't name it. But I do remember seeing. That is so annoying. I still can't remember. Now I've misremembered twice. But anyway, yeah, it has an interesting really hyper detailed background, but then I think that they soften the characters a little bit to put it back a few years, a couple decades. But yeah, I mean, the bunny people are like slaves from another planet that were brought here to work for the Empire, I guess. So Lop was caught trying to steal, And this guy's like, "Oh, what are you doing, you bunny? Are you like a slave girl? Don't steal stuff here. Just I'll feed you. It's perfectly fine, and I'll take this.
No,
thing
daughter,
off.
I do not. I do not want to adopt. Okay, I'll adopt her.
No, don't take her to the beach. Oh God, now she's.
This is so inappropriate. Now I must adopt her. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
It was and you know what? I think out of everything, this is the episode that I don't think that casual or non-anime fans will understand. Like, I think that there are tropes in here that if you were really big in either like manga or whatever, you probably would understand. Like, even there was a part where Ocho cuts her hair. I don't really understand the full significance behind that. Now, I do understand that in certain other mediums of why cutting off one's hair or having it cut off would be a big deal.
Sure, typically it's a sign of disrespect from the mediums that I know of, but I'm sure that's probably not what's going on here.
I just think that effect in here, it doesn't quite. I don't think it'll resonate with normies.
A Star Wars fan isn't going to get it.
No, and this is probably the episode.
Now, I don't mean that a Star Wars fan can't be an anime fan. I'm not trying to offend anybody. Sure, you might get it.
Sure.
Totally. But if you're coming into this just because of the Star Wars name, it will make no sense to you, along with the bunny people. Yeah, no sense.
And this is the episode that I felt the least Star Wars to me out of all of them.
I mean, up until the point where she ignites the lightsaber, other than the fact that we see some stormtroopers, it wasn't Star Wars.
Well, we're going to talk...
Even our officer, it didn't look like an officer to me.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the saber here later, but first of all, she has a Dragon Ball Z eyepiece with a carrot button, which all the bunny folks on Twitter loved.
That does not state that something has a power level of over 9,000, which pissed me off.
If only. But the crux...
I guess it would be a midichlorian count, not a power level, but
maybe. But however, the real crux of this is that our father and daughter we met in the early sequence of the episode. Obviously, everybody's older. And the daughter sides with the Empire. The father doesn't like the Empire.
Which is odd because the daughter's set up to be like a super nice, caring, compassionate person when she meets Lop. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah, people change, and she effectively becomes an Imperial officer, whereas the father is effectively like a terrorist in this particular thing, and then Lop just lops off and does loppy things.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think about the overly anime Imperial officer with green-tipped ears? He even does the finger stuff.
Dude, yeah. I hated it. I mean, it's one of those things like you were talking about. You have to go by the source material, and in no way, shape, or form would the Empire ever accept someone looking like that. I mean, he had little bars shaved out on one side of his head, and obviously the painted green tips. Like, the Empire ain't accepting that. They're not allowing that.
I mean, it is what it is, but it was super duper anime at that point.
Yeah, it was
super duper.
Well, I mean, we're talking about rabbit.
Lady, yeah, but that's why I'm saying this was the most un-Star Wars. It was just real crazy anime.
I feel like the second they accepted that they could have a bunny person, it's like, well, then we're just going to open the floodgate and do all the anime tropes then, because we might as well put it all in one episode.
No doubt. Well, anyway, Lop is on the run. She goes to meet with her father. And then her father tells her the lore of their family and how he's got a box of...
They're not Jedi, but they are.
Well, yeah, they're totally not. But a Jedi gave the family a saber, and I feel like it was totally Obi-Wan. This was Obi-Wan totally went to this planet and was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to teach you something. Here's the saber that you're going to pass down through the generations of your family, and just like use it. It's totally fine.
Only problem is I think there's like a 250-year span, and clearly this is time of the Empire.
No, it's
but
not.
It would be cool. It's
I know.
You know who it is? It's totally one of the High Republic characters. One of the ones that was disappointing to us. I'm drawing a blank on his name now.
Elzar or Stellan.
Yeah.
Stellan.
Stellan. It's totally Stellan.
Stellan Geos, yeah, that's right. Well, at any rate, so the father gives the saber to Bunny, and he's like, "Hey,
Yes.
yeah, you're not like biological or anything, but you're
But you
totally
are my
like,
daughter, even though you're not, but you are. So let's just not think about it anymore."
Yeah. So then the
What'd
father
you think of the
goes-
lightsaber?
the hilt was fine. Yeah, it was an interesting hilt, I guess. I'm not gonna like say that
I like
it was
the lightsaber.
terrible.
What I didn't like was the giant shuriken right after the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Totally Naruto tropes going on here now. It's bad, real bad.
Well, anyway, let's kind of continue through the story. The father and his terrorist guys, they're trying to do terrorist things. He's got what are those things called? The Raphael sort of knifey things. Do you know what those are actually called?
The
tri-prong things.
Yeah.
He's got some of those, and they're cool. And then the daughter has like a.
They're not just called sais, are they?
I don't know. I'm not sure. And then the daughter has a trifold sort of staffy stab thing, which is also called something that I don't know. The weapons I thought were pretty cool. They incorporated a lot of like old school weapons in here, which I thought was pretty neat. That was probably my favorite part.
Except for the giant shuriken.
Well, whatever. Giant shuriken. But yeah,
Although
the
I will
daughter.
say, I did. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the daughter went full on evil, and fights off her dad, and then wants to fight the bunny, and she's all mad that the bunny has the sword. And by the way, you can see symbols in the blade.
Yeah.
Fine, that's cool.
One thing I'll give this episode, I do like the discussion they have about the Empire and how a lot of people would have had the opinion that they would help with progress and make their planet better, whereas other people are like, no, all they're going to do is really just take our resources and bleed us dry. You don't see it happening, but it is totally going to happen. I did kind of like that. That was actually a pretty good piece of dialogue.
The commentary was good. I'll give you that. Also, another killing blow without killing the anybody, because Lop definitely cuts an X in Ocho's chest.
Yes, a perfect X where both sides were slashed and cauterized, even though one was with a dagger and the other side was a lightsaber.
Yeah, she
made total sense.
Totally
Not to mention the dad is now blind.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's
because
blind
she cuts
now.
his eye out.
Good stuff. But he's alive. He's just blind. He's just very badly burned. She's very badly burned. Lop's got a whatever. I don't like this episode. No offense.
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm not into the furry stuff. I'm not into that animal thing.
Yeah.
Animal talking sentient animals. Not my thing. But I realize people like that sort of stuff, and that's cool. I'm not judging it. This didn't feel like Star Wars to me. And I'm not an anime guy. And if it doesn't feel like Star Wars, then it's not going to be for me. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this like I'll give it a 3 because at least some of the animation was cool. Better than some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not my cup of tea.
Totally get it. And truthfully, if it wasn't a copyright thing, like it could have been anything other than Star Wars with just energy weapons, and you wouldn't have known the difference.
Yeah.
Well, I guess other than the stormtroopers, of course, which were poorly done. Out of all the things that were really well done, that kind of baffled me.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to redeem in this episode. The story is pretty bland. We kind of get that weird thing where, like, the daughter falls, presumably to her death, but is, like, on top of a Star Destroyer that is way undersized for what it should be. I don't know. I mean, there's some good dialogue. And the animation style was pretty nice. I think they put a lot of effort into it, so I will give them credit for that. But other than that, there's not much going on for this episode, and I'd say like a 3.5.
Okay.
For me.
That's fair. I think that that's entirely fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are people that are going to like it, and that's cool.
Sure, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
All right, let's move to our last episode. We've got number 9.
Ugly Face. We've got Ugly Face.
Akakuri, I think. Maybe? Is that... Sure, gonna go with that, seeing as no one has any objections. Now, this one, as far as cast, George Takei, or George Takei, I think is how he says his name. He was in here. Let's see. Was there anybody else that I recognized? Nope. Mainly George Takei. He stuck out like a sore thumb. It's like, oh,
yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah. That's a little crossing over there, doing some Trek and some wars. That was kind of cool.
Who would have thought that would happen through the lens of anime?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I watched Trek. I don't really know what Takei's like, or Takei, his career has really looked like. I mean, I know he's like crazy busy on like social media. He always has been, despite being older. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we both commented. The art style reminds me of. Do you remember the movie Heavy Metal?
Yes. Yeah.
I just wanted to.
It's like a weird mix of that and Cowboy Bebop in a way, with like the weird the movement speed is very odd for me.
No, I wanted to play that Sammy Hagar song that I won't attempt to sing or do anything with because it's totally copyrighted. You know, just like have that going on. But this is
it's ugly.
Well, it's ugly,
really ugly,
but it has a pretty deep story.
It does.
So I'll give it that. We meet a Jedi who's on this planet, kind of looks like he's being a farmer. We have a princess. We have one of the stupidest eyeball animations where you see the individual eyelashes, which are just wiggly lines. Sorry, that was dumb. And
we have the two guides that are just god-awful in every way possible. Oh, my God, I wish they would have died.
Yeah, they were kind of dorks. But the whole issue is that our princess's father was killed by Sith, who's a
relative, right? She's like
sure
the dude's sister or something, I think.
That's probable. Yeah, I guess. And they're on a quest, I guess, to defeat her or something like that. They have some random like going through the desert and stuff. Didn't really care about that. Really where I start to get interested is one, we have flashbacks. So this guy kind of has like a Rael Averos kind of feel where he's probably not like the perfect Jedi. Obviously, between him and this princess, there was something, and something happened in their past that screwed him up, and now he's just like a nerf-hurting farmer or whatever. So that would have been more interesting to explain than have the goofy guides.
Yeah.
But then we have the present, and I guess we didn't really say this in the beginning, he has a vision of like killing someone. And the issue with it, well, not the issue, the crux of this is that I think it goes into destiny. And destiny can't be changed, and visions are very literal. And I really don't like our bad person here. Like, it's a goofy model.
You don't like our Sith? You don't like our Sith.
No. I don't. Whatever. I'm not going to get into it. Just it looks goofy to me. But our Sith here is trying to kind of turn our Jedi to the dark side. The issue is she succeeds. That's actually not something we see a lot of. I mean, even here in a lot of these animes, we didn't see this happening. and she takes our princess and disguises her as one of these soldiers, and our Jedi actually cuts her down. And that was his vision. His vision came true. But
which really it doesn't explain why she attacked him, though, which made no sense. But
well, I think it probably would have been one of those things where the guards just like pushed her into him, you know. It looked like she was being attacked, I guess. But after he cuts her down, the Sith's like, hey, we can bring her back to life. It's not a problem. So she used the trick to get him to effectively be her apprentice and turn the dark side. That's basically the end of the episode. Like, there's nothing more. It's a cliffhanger.
Onto his ship, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think the story to this was interesting. You know, kind of like the Fallen Jedi thing.
Yeah.
But it's also animated not in a way that we would particularly want to watch.
Yeah, I mean, if we could have gotten... maybe put the Bunny one in this animation style and do that animation style with this story, it would probably be my favorite episode. That's the sad thing. It's just, it really holds me back from giving it that rank. It's not, it's really painful to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm with you. I'd probably rank it somewhere in like the 7.1, 7.2 area just because of the story. The story was interesting. I wish it were expounded upon. And not had the goofy guides, but, you know, there again, I think it was a strong story. But yeah,
I feel like this one was kind of set up to be a lot longer than everything else. Even like going through the desert, and there was like this part where he had to go back for one of the guys, but then they didn't really expand that at all. And with him turning to the dark side, I just feel like this could have been like a 45-minute, maybe an hour episode.
Well, and
there was more potential with it.
I think that they were just giving all these little teaser tasters. It's like, hey, you like it? If you like it, then we could do.
We'll give you a season 2, and like, we might or might not expand on it.
It's like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do any more of this. So anyway, that's Visions basically.
Yeah.
So I think our you know, as far as like our favorites, I'll do mine. You can do yours because I don't remember all the rankings. I'd probably say Elder, The Duel, and then Village Bride. Those would be my top 3.
Yeah, I mean, I would basically have to do a carbon copy. I agree, 100%. The Elder was definitely the best by far. The Duel was amazing. The Village Bride was very good. It's the weakest of the 3. I will say that just because of a couple of goofy things. But yeah, I mean, those 3, if we got just, I almost wish we would have just gotten those 3 stories and maybe we did like a 3-episode arc. Sure. I would have been better with that. Almost like something with what we did with Clone Wars where we got a Bad Batch portion. Right. You know, we got a Ahsoka portion. I would have preferred that. Yeah.
An honorable mention to our final episode. I thought that was okay. It was a good story.
Yeah, it was.
I'm down with that. That's Star Wars Visions.
Yeah.
Listen, I know a lot of you out there probably enjoyed this a lot more. You probably have more insights than we do. We'd love for you to share those with us. The Darth is more versed in anime. I mean, he can throw out names of shows. I can't. But there are definitely some things that hold some of these back. And you know what? That's because we have an inherent bias towards American television. It just is what it is. But I think it was an interesting route to take. You know, it's not a bad thing to try new things.
No, absolutely not.
Star Wars fans sometimes feel like they can get too locked in. It's like, well, I mean, this is different. It's new. It's a different interpretation. It's not bad.
Yeah. And honestly, I could have even seen, if they had not gone the route with the show, I could have seen like an hour and 20-minute movie for The Elder. You know, really flesh that out and make a movie out of it. I think it would have been kind of cool. I was perfectly fine with it. There was... We dogged it the night we watched it, but I mean, there was some good parts to this series, and I'm not mad that it's around.
Hey, you know what?
If it kicked back anything else for us, like Kenobi or whatever, I'm not happy, but I don't think it did.
I just remembered who Dan reminds me of.
Who's that?
So there was a late 60s Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. He reminds me of Peter Parker.
Really?
Yeah, from late 60s Spider-Man. It's just some of the like the facial stuff, and the Djibouti Dubs guys did some funny like dub overs of some of those cartoons, and like just some of the stuff in there. It just reminded me of that. So that's what it reminded me of. Now the other one, I'm never going to remember. I'm never going to recall that darn anime.
Yeah.
I don't even know how best to describe it.
Listen, I don't think anyone expects you to have anime on the top of your head. It's fine.
No, but the issue is, I think it's like supposed to be one of those big ones, that people just know. It had a female protagonist.
You're not talking like Ghost in the Shell or something, are you?
No, I don't think that's it. I'm never going to remember it. I mean, whatever. It's fine. Never mind. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so that's Visions. I'm about done talking. Anything else we need to talk about Visions-wise?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything that we want to.
Cool. Well, folks, we're going to try and get back on a more, back on our normal schedule. We've got a lot of comics stacking up. Like we said earlier, there's just been a ton circulating. It seems like every week there's 2 or 3, and we're pretty well behind. We're going to try and bust through those, and then see what else, because Book of Boba Fett's not too far off. We're going to be getting that pretty quick. Then, dang, we're going to be into next year, before too long.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's pretty wild. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed our discussion here. Don't roast us too much. I'm just not an anime guy. We can't all like the same stuff. But feel free to interact with us. Let us know what you thought. What were your top 3? What were your top 3 episodes of Visions, and why? That'd be great to know. Find us on Twitter at TC Plan Podcast. Facebook's out there as well. Or you can just send us a good old email to tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. Just write up what you thought, and we'll talk about it on a future episode. But I believe that is all for this week. So you guys have a great rest of your week.
And as always, may the Force be with you.